Welcome to the Freedom Project podcast. I'm Tom Foxley, and this is where we talk about what it really takes to build elite mental fitness, the kind that lets you perform at your best and push your limits and create real freedom in your life and business. Unrelenting growth is what most of us want, not occasional progress, not temporary breakthroughs, but real, substantial, sustainable, soul deep growth. And here's the good news. It's absolutely possible, but only if you follow these 3 rules. Rule number 1, the answers are found inside, not outside. So not in another strategy, not in the next podcast episode. Sorry, I know you're listening to one right now. And not in finally eliminating every single problem that you face, no matter how big or no how small. And definitely not in numbing out on your phone. Because no amount of external success is ever going to fix internal conflict. In fact, it usually amplifies it. I've seen it time and time again. People reach the goal, hit the number, get the applause, and then shortly after feel more lost than ever. Because true transformation isn't found out there. It comes from aligning with something deeper. It comes from an authentic way of living where you're not lying to yourself. According to something called self-determination theory, real lasting growth happens when you meet 3 core psychological needs. First is autonomy. So you feel like you're choosing your life, you're choosing your quality of life, choosing what you do, choosing how you do it. Your mastery is the second piece, so mastery. You're improving at something meaningful. So notice those 2 key components. You're getting better at it. Doesn't mean it's easy, but you're getting better at it. And then meaningful. So it has to be aligned with what you inherently find meaningful in your life. You can't live inauthentically. And then purpose. You know why it matters. You know why this is important, maybe to your family, maybe to you and your sense of adventure, or maybe important to the world, the community that you serve. And when those 3 are in place, growth doesn't drain you. It fuels you, it supports you. You don't burn out. You just come alive. You show up, even if you're exhausted. So before you chase another shiny, sexy tactic, go inward. Because if you're out of alignment with your own internal world, no external system is ever going to save you. Rule number 2, find what looks like work to others, but feels like play to you. So let me tell you about Amelia Earhart. She wasn't born into fame, and she didn't grow up with a silver spoon. In fact, her early life was incredibly messy. Her father was an alcoholic, and the family moved constantly. But even as a child, she defied expectations. She climbed trees and hunted rats with a rifle and built makeshift roller coasters in her garden. And then, in her 20s, she saw something that changed everything for her. A plane at an air show. And when she took her first flying lesson, that was just it for her. The moment her hands touched the controls, she knew this wasn't just interesting, it was actually freedom for her. Flying, it felt like truth, like expansion and exploration. It was everything she hadn't known she was searching for. So she threw herself into it. She worked as a truck driver and photographer to fund lessons. She studied navigation and meteorology, and she spent every spare minute learning how to master the skies. And eventually, she became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. Not for attention and not for legacy. She did it because it lit her up. It made her come alive. And that energy, that sense of purpose and freedom, fueled the discipline behind her success. And that's the difference. Doing what feels like play isn't a luxury, it's an edge. And psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi called this flow. The state where challenge meets skill and time just disappears. And flow isn't indulgence, it's performance at its highest level. So stop forcing yourself into models that don't fit. Find the thing that feels like freedom and play and commit to that. Because when you do, effort becomes effortless and you'll go further than you ever thought possible. And rule 3, know your problems are precisely what you need. When fear shows up and when rejection stings and when resistance kicks in hard, Most people take this as a sign to stop or to shrink or to go back to what's safe or just to fight it. But the truth is that this discomfort is your direction. And Joseph Campbell said this best. He said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." The resistance isn't your enemy. It's a signal. It's where psychological flexibility comes in, the ability to turn toward pain with presence, not to numb or avoid it, but to face it, and not even fight it, but to embrace it. Now, let me tell you about someone who completely embodied this, Theodore Roosevelt. In 1912, after years in politics, Roosevelt lost the presidential election in a humiliating fashion, and he was 54. His career seemed over, his body was already worn out, and he had every excuse to pull back. Instead, he did something really unthinkable. He organized an expedition to explore an uncharted river deep in the Amazon rainforest, the River of Doubt. The name wasn't metaphorical, and the journey was just brutal. They faced disease and starvation, rapids, hostile tribes, and actually death. At one point, Roosevelt became so ill he couldn't walk. He lost over 50 pounds. He begged his team to leave him behind. But he didn't die, of course. And when he returned, he said that journey had given him more than anything politics ever had. Because sometimes it's not ease that we need, it's meaning. It's a challenge worth facing. Not because it makes us comfortable, of course, but because it forges something deeper inside us. That's what mental fitness builds. Not numbness, not detachment, but the ability to hold pressure with presence, to carry the weight without being crushed, to let go when gripping tighter only drags you down. So if you're seeking unrelenting growth, not this short-term dopamine hit, not a motivational high followed by the crash, but real expansion, start here. Go inward, follow what lights you up, and stop avoiding what hurts. Because your discomfort is not a detour, it's the door. Thank you for listening to the Freedom Project podcast. If this stirred something in you, then please share it. Send it to someone who's walking their own path and facing their own doubts and ready to grow. Elite mental fitness is a sets and reps game, so let's put the reps in.